Sarah Mitchell pushed through the heavy glass doors of Chicago General Hospital at 11 p.m. The February storm raged outside. Icy rain lashed her face. Her sneakers left wet streaks on the polished ER floor. The 28-year-old nurse tightened her dark ponytail. Her stethoscope bounced against her chest. Her hazel eyes scanned the chaos. She braced for another brutal shift. 2 years ago, a patient died under her care. The memory clung to her like damp cold. Self-doubt lingered. It whispered she wasn't enough. Tonight, the ER buzzed with tension. Beeping monitors competed with shouted orders. Antiseptic stung the air. 2 car accident victims had arrived minutes before. Beds were full. Nurses darted between curtains. Doctors barked commands. Sarah slipped into her role. Her hands moved with practiced calm. She checked a chart, adjusted an IV. Then the double. Doors crashed open. A blast of frigid air swept in. 2 paramedics followed. Their uniforms were soaked, their faces grim. They wheeled a stretcher. A young man lay on it. Blood drenched his clothes. His face was ghostly pale. His chest barely moved. Code red. Mid-20s male. No ID. Multiple stab wounds. Possible internal bleeding. Vitals crashing. The lead paramedic's voice cut through the noise. Sarah froze. Her eyes locked on the patient. A glint of metal caught her attention. A dog tag hung around his neck. Corporal Daniel Carter, U.S. Marine. Her heart thudded. Whispers spread among the staff. Military, sensitive case needs clearance. Dr. Evelyn Ross stood nearby. Her sharp eyes narrowed. No action until we get federal approval. Her words were final. Sarah's gaze darted to the monitor. Daniel's pulse was a faint flicker. His lips tinged blue. Each breath was a struggle. She saw the hesitation in the room. Nurses exchanged glances. A tech paused mid-step. No one moved. Protocol chained them. Sarah's mind raced. 2 years ago, she hesitated. A patient slipped away. The guilt still woke her at night. She wouldn't let it happen again. He's dying. Her voice was low but firm. She stepped forward. Dr. Ross's hand shot up. Mitchell, stand down. You're not authorized. Sarah's eyes flicked to Daniel. His chest stilled. The monitor's beep slowed. She saw the boy he might have been, the family waiting for him, the life fading under her gaze. Her hands trembled. Her training roared louder than fear. Prep Trauma Bay 2, chest tube, saline, crash cart. Now. Her words snapped like a whip. The room jolted. A tech hesitated, then moved. Gurney wheels screeched. Sarah led the charge. Daniel's stretcher rolled into the trauma bay. Lights blazed overhead. Monitors screamed. Sarah's gloves snapped on. Her pulse pounded in her ears. She tore open Daniel's shirt. Deep gashes crisscrossed his abdomen. Blood pulsed from a tube wound near his ribs. A stab had nicked an artery. She pressed gauze to the site. Her hands were steady. Her mind tunneled. The world shrank to this moment. This man. This fight. Vitals BP 60/30. Pulse ox 75. The tech's voice was tense. Sarah barely heard. She grabbed a scalpel. Her fingers moved with precision. She inserted a chest tube. Fluid drained into a bag. Blood and air hissed free. His lungs had collapsed. She worked faster. Suction, clamp, suture. Her commands were sharp. The team followed her lead. A nurse hung saline. Another prepped the crash cart. Sweat beaded on Sarah's forehead. It stung her eyes. She blinked it away. Daniel's pulse weakened. The monitor's beep grew erratic. "Stay with me, Daniel." Her whisper was fierce, a prayer, a promise. She pulled a shard of metal from his side. It clinked into a tray. Blood welled up. She sutured the tear. Her hands were slick. Her focus unbreakable. Hours blurred into seconds. The monitor flatlined. A piercing wail filled the room. Sarah's breath caught. Her chest tightened. No, not again. She pressed her hands to his chest. Compressions. 1, 2, 3. Counted. Aloud. Her arms burned. Her heart begged. Charge to 200, clear. The defibrillator hummed. Daniel's body arched. Nothing. Again. 250. Clear. Another shock. The monitor flickered. A weak beep, then another. He's back. The tech's voice was a whisper. Sarah exhaled. Her hands didn't stop. She stitched another wound, inserted a second tube, stabilized his lung. Blood bags hung low. The team moved like an extension of her will. 3 hours later, silence fell. The chaos ebbed. Daniel's chest rose and fell, shallow but steady. He was alive. Sarah stepped back. Her gloves were crimson. Her scrubs stained. Her body trembled. Adrenaline drained away. She peeled off her gloves. Her fingers shook. She looked at Daniel. His face was still pale, but he breathed. She had done it. Against the odds. Against the rules. She felt a surge of triumph. It was quiet. Fragile. Dr. Ross stood at the door. Her face was stone. Her eyes burned with disapproval. Sarah knew the cost. She had defied a direct order, broken protocol, risked everything. Her hand closed around Daniel's dog tag. It had slipped off during the chaos. She clutched it. Cold metal grounded her. A reminder of the life she saved. The line she crossed. The room was still. Nurses avoided her gaze. Techs busied themselves. Sarah's heart was heavy. She had saved him. But at what price? Dr. Ross turned away. Her silence was louder than words. Sarah looked at Daniel one last time. His chest moved. A small victory. A massive risk. She slipped the dog tag into her pocket. It felt heavier than it should. A tether to the moment that would change her life. The storm outside had weakened. Rain tapped softly on the windows. Inside, the ER hummed on. Sarah stood alone. Her triumph was hers alone. Her fear was hers alone. She knew consequences were coming. She didn't regret her choice, but she wasn't ready for what came next. Morning broke over Chicago with a gray haze. Sarah Mitchell stood by her locker in the hospital's staff room. Her hands shook as she emptied its contents. A spare stethoscope, a crumpled notepad, a half-eaten pack of mints. Each item felt like a relic of a life now gone. Her badge hung, heavy in her hand. Sarah Mitchell, RN. The letters mocked her. Hours earlier she had saved a man's life. Corporal Daniel Carter, U.S. Marine. Now she was jobless. The ER bustled beyond the door. Nurses moved briskly. Their voices were muffled. None met her eyes. She felt invisible. The weight of last night pressed on her chest. She had defied Dr. Evelyn Ross. Broken protocol, acted on instinct. It saved Daniel. It cost her everything. The intercom crackled earlier that morning. It summoned her to the administrative wing. She had walked the sterile corridor alone. Her scrubs were still stained with Daniel's blood. Her hair frayed from a sleepless night. The office door was open. Dr. Ross sat behind a polished desk. Her face was unreadable. Beside her was Mr. Kenneth Lyle, the hospital's legal counsel. His suit was crisp, his expression cold. "Sit down, Mitchell." Dr. Ross's voice was sharp. Sarah sat, her hands clasped tightly. Her stomach churned. "You acted without clearance last night." Dr. Ross leaned forward. Her eyes bored into Sarah. "You treated a military patient. No ID verification, no federal approval. You put this hospital at risk." Sarah's throat tightened. He was dying. "I had to act." Lyle cleared his throat. His pen tapped the desk. "Protocols exist for a reason. Your actions were reckless. Legally indefensible." Sarah's voice rose. "I followed my training. A man was bleeding out. No one else moved." Dr. Ross's lips thinned. "You're a good nurse, Sarah, but rules are non-negotiable. You're terminated, effective immediately." The words hit like a physical blow. Sarah's breath caught. Her mind went blank. The clock on the wall ticked loudly. "I saved him." Her voice was barely a whisper. Lyle's face softened for a moment. "We acknowledge your intent, but the decision is final." The meeting ended abruptly. No handshake, no farewell. Sarah stood. Her legs felt unsteady. She walked back to the locker room in a daze. The hospital moved around her. A nurse offered a sad smile. Another looked away. The silence was deafening. Sarah packed her tote bag. Her hands moved mechanically. She left her badge on the locker shelf. It felt like abandoning a piece of herself. Outside, the air was thick. The storm had passed. The city hummed with early morning traffic. Sarah stood on the curb. Her eyes traced the hospital's towering facade. She had given 4 years to this place. Nights without sleep. Patients she fought for. Lives she saved. Now it was just a building. Cold, impersonal, she whispered to herself. All I did was save a life. Her voice broke. She turned and walked away. Her apartment in Chicago's South Side was small, cluttered with nursing textbooks. Framed photos of her late father lined the walls. He was a paramedic. His pride in her had been her anchor. Now she felt adrift. She dropped her bag on the couch. The dog tag clinked inside. Daniel's tag. She pulled it out. Her fingers traced the engraved letters. Corporal Daniel Carter, U.S. Marine. It was wrong to keep it. She knew that. But it felt like the only thing tying her to that night. To the choice that changed everything. She sank onto the couch. A mug of coffee sat untouched on the table. Her head throbbed. Sleep hadn't come. She replayed the night in her mind. The blood, the chaos, the flatline, the beep that brought him back. She had done what was right. Why did it feel like punishment? Her phone buzzed. A text from a colleague. "I'm sorry, Sarah, you didn't deserve this." She didn't reply. The words felt hollow. She stared at the ceiling. Hours passed. The city outside grew louder. Delivery. Trucks rumbled. Neighbors shouted. Life moved on. Sarah didn't. She felt stuck, caught between pride and shame. She had saved a man, lost her career. The dog tag lay heavy in her hand. It was more than metal. It was proof she had made a difference. Proof she had been enough. But it wasn't enough to stop the ache. The hospital had been her home, her purpose. Now it was gone. She thought of her father. He always said, "Do what's right, even when it's hard." She had. It was harder than she imagined. Her eyes stung. She didn't cry, not yet. She held the tag tighter. A noise broke her thoughts. A sharp knock at the door. Not soft. Not casual. It was firm. Purposeful. Sarah frowned. She wasn't expecting anyone. She padded to the door in socks. Her grey sweatpants were wrinkled. Her t-shirt faded. She peered through the peephole. A man in a black suit stood outside. Sunglasses hid his eyes. An earpiece coiled around his ear. 2 others flanked him. Their faces were stone. Her heart skipped. She opened the door a crack. Sarah Mitchell. The man's voice was flat. Official. "Yes," she croaked. Her throat was dry. "I'm Agent Marcus Hayes, United States Secret Service. You're requested at the Pentagon. Urgent matter." Sarah blinked. Her mind scrambled. The Pentagon. What? She leaned against the doorframe. Her knees felt weak. "Are you sure you have the right person?" Hayes didn't flinch. "Yes, ma'am, we need to leave now." Sarah's hand tightened on the dog tag. Her mind raced. Was this about Daniel? Was she in trouble? Her life had unraveled in hours. Now this. She nodded. Slowly. "I need to change." Hayes glanced at his watch. "You have 2 minutes. We'll wait." Sarah shut the door. Her heart pounded. She rushed to her bedroom, threw on jeans, a clean sweater, tied her hair back. Her hands shook. She grabbed her bag, slipped the dog tag inside. It felt like a lifeline. She stepped outside. The agents stood like statues. Neighbors peeked from windows. A kid on a bike stopped to stare. Sarah felt exposed. She followed Hayes to a black SUV. The door closed with a heavy thud. The leather seats smelled new. The windows were tinted black. She couldn't see the city, only her reflection, pale, uncertain. Hayes sat in front. "We'll arrive within the hour." His voice was clipped. Sarah nodded. Her fingers curled around her bag. The dog sped away. Her mind was a storm. Why the Pentagon? What had she done? The dog tag pressed against her palm. She held it tighter. The SUV moved silently through the city. Sarah's world had shattered. Once. Now it was shifting again. She wasn't ready. but she had no choice. The black SUV glided through Chicago's morning traffic. Sarah Mitchell sat in the back seat. Her hands gripped her bag. The dog tag inside pressed against her palm. Corporal Daniel Carter, U.S. Marine. Its weight grounded her. The tinted windows hid the world outside. She saw only her reflection, wide eyes, pale skin, a stranger staring back. Agent Marcus Hayes sat in front. His posture was rigid. His earpiece crackled faintly. The other agents were silent. Their presence filled the air with tension. Sarah's mind churned. Why the Pentagon? Was she in trouble? Had saving Daniel triggered something bigger? The SUV merged onto the highway. No sirens, no lights, just quiet urgency. Cars parted around them. The city blurred past. Sarah's heart raced. She glanced at Hayes. "Why am I here?" Her voice was steady but thin. Hayes didn't turn. "Official. Business, ma'am? You'll be briefed soon." His words were clipped. They offered no comfort. Sarah leaned back. Her fingers traced the dog tag's edges. It was her only link to last night. To the man she saved. To the choice that cost her job. The SUV sped toward O'Hare Airport. Sarah frowned. The Pentagon was in Washington, D.C. Were they flying? Hayes answered her unspoken question. "Private jets waiting. We'll land in an hour." Sarah's stomach twisted. A private jet. This wasn't normal. She wasn't normal. Yesterday she was a nurse. Today she was being whisked away by secret service. Her thoughts spiraled. Was Daniel someone important? Was his case classified? Had she stumbled into something dangerous? The SUV pulled onto a private tarmac. A sleek jet waited. Its engines hummed softly. The agents escorted her up the steps. Inside the cabin was sparse. Leather seats, dim lighting. A bottle of water sat in a cup holder. Sarah sank into a seat. Her bag rested on her lap. The jet's engines roared. The ground fell away. Chicago shrank below. She stared out the window. Clouds swallowed the city. Her old life felt like a dream. The flight was short, barely an hour. The jet descended toward a military airstrip. Virginia's skyline loomed. The Pentagon's gray bulk came into view. Sarah's breath caught. The building was massive, intimidating, a fortress of power. The jet touched down smoothly. Agents led her to another SUV. The drive was brief. Security gates opened without a word. Guards saluted as they passed. Sarah's nerves buzzed. She felt small, out of place. The SUV stopped at a side entrance. Hayes opened her door. "This way, ma'am." His tone was formal. Sarah stepped out. Her sneakers felt wrong against the polished concrete. She followed Hayes through a maze of corridors. The air smelled of wax and steel. Uniformed officers moved with purpose. Their boots echoed. Sarah's heart pounded. She clutched her bag tighter. The dog tag was her anchor, a reminder of why she was here. Hayes stopped at a heavy door. He knocked once. A voice inside said, "Enter." The door opened. Sarah stepped into a briefing room. The air was cool. A long table dominated the space. Men and women in suits and uniforms sat around it. Their faces were stern. At the head was a woman in her 50s. Her grey suit was sharp, her eyes sharper. She stood. "Sarah Mitchell. I'm Director Elaine Carver, Department of Defense. Please sit." Sarah obeyed. Her hands trembled slightly. She set her bag on the floor. The dog tag clinked softly. Carver's gaze flicked to it, then back to Sarah. "You're here because of Corporal Daniel Carter." Sarah nodded. Her throat was dry. "Is he okay?" Carver's expression softened. "He's stable, thanks to you." Sarah exhaled. Relief washed over her, but the room's tension didn't fade. Carver continued. "Carter was carrying sensitive information. His injuries weren't random. He was attacked. Your actions saved more than his life. You preserved national security." Sarah blinked. National security? She hadn't known. She just saw a man dying. "I didn't know who he was. I just acted." Carver nodded. "That's why you're here, your instinct, your courage. We need to understand it." Sarah's mind reeled. The room felt smaller. Eyes studied her. A general leaned forward. His medals gleamed. "You broke protocol, risked your career." Why? Sarah's voice was quiet but firm. He was dying. I couldn't wait. The general's eyes narrowed, then softened. He leaned back. Carver spoke again. Carter's recovering in Bethesda. He asked about you, said you never left his side. Sarah's chest tightened. She remembered his shallow breaths, the blood, the beep of his heart restarting. She didn't know what to say. Carver gestured to an aide. A screen lit up. Grainy security footage played. Sarah saw herself in the trauma bay. Her hands moved fast, her face focused. The team followed her lead. She didn't recognize herself. That woman was fearless, not the nurse who doubted herself. The footage ended. Silence hung heavy. Carver stood. You're not in trouble. You're here because we owe you. Sarah's eyes widened. Owe me. She was fired. Cast out. Now this. Carver's voice softened. Carter's family wants to meet you. They're grateful. Sarah's heart skipped. Family, who were they? Why the Pentagon? Carver answered her unspoken question. His uncle is Senator James Harper, a key figure in defense policy. Sarah's breath caught. A senator. That explained the jet, the agents, the urgency. She felt dizzy. I didn't know. Carver smiled faintly. That's what makes it remarkable. You acted without agenda. Sarah's fingers brushed her bag. The dog tag inside felt warm now. A door opened. A woman entered. Older, elegant. Her eyes red from tears. She wore a simple navy dress, her hands clasped tightly. She crossed the room. Sarah stood instinctively. The woman's arms wrapped around her. Thank you. Her voice broke. You saved my nephew. Sarah froze. The embrace was warm, real. She felt the woman's gratitude. It seeped into her bones. I'm Margaret Harper, Daniel's aunt. He told me about you, said you fought for him. Sarah's eyes stung. I just did my job. Margaret pulled back. Her hands cupped Sarah's face. You did more than that. You gave us hope. Sarah's vision blurred. She hadn't expected this. Not the hug, not the words, not the weight of their meaning. She saved a man. Now she was here, in the Pentagon, hugged by a senator's sister. The room watched in silence. Carver cleared her throat. We'll escort you to Bethesda. You can see Carter. Sarah nodded. Her voice was gone, her heart full. The dog tag in her bag felt like a promise. She didn't know what came next, but she felt a shift. Her life was moving again, not backward, forward, into something bigger than she could grasp. Sarah Mitchell stepped out of the Pentagon into a crisp Virginia afternoon. The SUV waited. Its engine hummed softly. Agent Marcus Hayes opened the door. Sarah slid inside. Her bag rested on her lap. The dog tag inside felt like a heartbeat. Corporal Daniel Carter's name pulsed through her mind. The revelation still echoed. He was Senator James Harper's nephew. His survival mattered beyond the trauma bay. She had saved more than a life. She had protected secrets vital to the nation. The SUV rolled toward Bethesda Naval Hospital. Sarah's thoughts churned. Margaret Harper's embrace lingered. The older woman's tears had cracked something in Sarah, a wall she built after her, firing, after years of self-doubt. The hospital loomed ahead. Its white facade gleamed under the sun. Sarah's stomach tightened. She wasn't ready to see Daniel. Not yet. But she had no choice. The SUV stopped at a secure entrance. Hayes led her through guarded doors. The hospital smelled of sterile calm, different from Chicago's chaos. Corridors were quiet. Staff moved with military precision. Sarah's sneakers felt loud against the tiled floor. Her sweater and jeans felt wrong. She was a civilian in a world of uniforms. Hayes stopped at an elevator. He pressed a button. 4th floor, critical care. Sarah nodded. Her hands fidgeted with her bag's strap. The elevator hummed. Her mind raced. What would she say to Daniel? Would he remember her? The doors opened. A nurse in scrubs greeted them. Her badge read Lieutenant Ramirez. This way. Her voice was soft but firm. Sarah followed. Her heart pounded. They passed rooms with closed curtains. Machines beeped faintly. Ramirez stopped at a door. "Room 412. He's awake. He knows you're coming." Sarah swallowed hard. She stepped inside. Daniel Carter lay in a hospital bed. His face was bruised but alive. His eyes were clear, blue like the ocean. He wore a gown. Tubes snaked from his arm. A monitor tracked his steady pulse. He looked at her. A small smile broke through his pain. "You're the one." His voice was rough, weak. Sarah froze. Her throat tightened. "I'm Sarah. I was in the ER." Daniel nodded. "I remember your voice. You kept saying stay with me." Sarah's eyes stung. She hadn't known he heard her. "I didn't think you'd make it." She spoke softly. Her voice trembled. Daniel's smile faded. "I shouldn't have. You changed that." Sarah looked away. The weight of his words pressed on her. She saved him, but the cost was her job, her life. A woman's voice broke the silence. "You're a miracle." Sarah turned. Margaret Harper stood in the doorway. Beside her was a man in a tailored suit. His face was lined, his eyes kind but sharp. Senator James Harper. He stepped forward, his hand extended. "I'm Daniel's uncle. Thank you doesn't cover it." Sarah shook his hand. Her grip was weak. "I just did what I was trained to do." Harper's eyes held hers. "You did more. You acted when others froze." Sarah's chest ached. She remembered Dr. Ross's glare, the hospital's cold dismissal. Harper gestured to a chair. "Please sit. We need to talk." Sarah sat. Her bag rested on her knees. The dog tag inside was a silent witness. Harper sat across from her. Margaret stood by Daniel's bed. Her hand rested on his shoulder. Harper leaned forward. Daniel was on a classified mission. His team was ambushed. He was the only survivor. The information he carried was critical. You didn't just save him. You saved something bigger. Sarah's breath caught. She hadn't known. She saw blood, a fading pulse, a man dying, not a mission, not a senator's nephew. Harper continued. "Your hospital didn't know his status. Their caution was understandable. But you saw past it." Sarah's voice was quiet. "I couldn't let him die." Harper nodded. "That's why you're here. We want to make this right." Sarah frowned. Make it right. She was jobless, her career in ruins. What could they do? Harper's voice softened. "We're offering you a position. Head trauma nurse. Bethesda Naval Hospital. Full clearance. Leadership role. You'd train others. Build a team." Sarah's heart stopped. A job, not just any job. A chance to lead, to matter. Her mind spun. Yesterday she was packing her locker. Today she was being offered a future. She looked at Daniel. His eyes were steady. "You deserve it." He spoke softly. Sarah's throat burned. She didn't trust her voice. Margaret stepped closer. Her hand touched Sarah's arm. "You gave us our family back. Let us give you something in return." Sarah's eyes filled with tears. She blinked them away. "I don't know what to say." Harper smiled. "Say yes." Sarah's fingers brushed her bag. The dog tag was still there. A reminder of her choice, her courage. She nodded slowly. "Okay, yes." Margaret's face lit up. She pulled Sarah into another embrace. This one was fiercer. Sarah felt the warmth, the gratitude. It was overwhelming. Daniel watched. His smile returned. Harper stood. "We'll handle the details. You start next week." Sarah nodded. Her head was light. The room felt unreal. Hayes appeared at the door. "Time to go, Mom." Sarah stood. Her legs were unsteady. She looked at Daniel one last time. "I'm glad you're okay." He nodded. "Because of you." She turned away. Her heart was full, her steps lighter. Hayes led her back, to the SUV. The drive to the airstrip was quiet. Sarah stared out the window. Virginia's trees blurred past. Her mind replayed the meeting, the job offer, Margaret's hug, Daniel's words. She had been fired for doing the right thing. Now she was being lifted up. The jet waited on the tarmac. Sarah boarded. The cabin was the same, leather seats, dim lights, but she felt different. Not invisible, not broken, seen, valued. The jet climbed into the sky. Sarah's hand slipped into her bag. She pulled out the dog tag. Its metal gleamed, Corporal Daniel Carter. She held it tightly. It wasn't just a tag. It was her redemption, her proof. She had acted. She had saved. Now she was being given a chance to rebuild. The jet leveled off. Clouds stretched endless below. Sarah's heart settled. She wasn't sure what came next, but for the first time in days, she felt hope. The dog tag stayed in her hand. A promise of something new. A path forward. She wasn't the nurse who failed anymore. She was the nurse who fought and won. Sarah Mitchell stood in the pristine trauma bay of Bethesda Naval Hospital. Her new badge gleamed under the fluorescent lights. Head trauma nurse. The title felt heavy. Unreal. A week ago, she was jobless. Now she led a team in one of the nation's top military hospitals. Her navy scrubs bore the hospital's insignia. Her hands moved with purpose, checking monitors, reviewing charts, directing nurses with quiet authority. The bay was calm, a stark contrast to Chicago's chaos. But Sarah's mind was not. Her story had leaked to the press. Headlines called her a hero. Social media buzzed with hashtags. Nurse of Valor. Sarah saves. Clips of her hospital's security footage went viral. The public saw her fight for Daniel Carter. They saw her hands steady under pressure. Her face focused, her courage undeniable. Strangers sent letters, thanked her online, called her an inspiration. But not everyone cheered. Whispers from Chicago reached her. Former colleagues posted in private forums, she got lucky. If he wasn't a senator's nephew, she'd be nobody. She broke rules. She's no hero. The words stung. Sarah read them late at night. Her phone's glow lit her face. She didn't seek them out. They found her. Old friends stopped texting. A nurse she trained barely nodded at a conference. The resentment was a quiet current. It flowed beneath the praise. Sarah understood. She had been one of them. Overworked, overlooked. She knew how it felt to see someone rise while you stayed behind. But it hurt. She hadn't acted for fame. She acted to save a life. Yet the whispers painted her as ambitious, reckless, lucky. She pushed the pain down, focused on her work. Bethesda was her new start. The hospital trusted her. Her team respected her. She trained nurses daily, taught them to trust their instincts, to act under pressure, to see patients as people, not cases. Her office was small, but hers. A desk, a window, a photo of her father, his old paramedic patch beside it. The dog tag sat there too. Corporal Daniel Carter. A reminder of her choice, her cost, her victory. One evening she stayed late. Charts piled high. She designed a new training program. High-stakes trauma response. It was her idea, born from that night in Chicago. She wanted nurses ready for chaos, ready to act when others froze. She poured her heart into it, every drill, every scenario. She saw herself in the young nurses, their eager eyes, their trembling hands. She remembered her own fear, her doubt. She wanted them to be better, braver. One nurse struggled, a young woman named Lila, barely 22. She fumbled during a simulation, dropped a syringe, her face flushed with shame. Sarah knelt beside her, spoke softly. Slow down. Breathe. You've got this. Lila nodded, tried again, succeeded. Sarah smiled. She saw her younger self in Lila, overwhelmed but determined. She made it her mission to lift them up, to give them what she never had. A mentor who believed. The program gained traction. Doctors noticed. Administrators praised it. Sarah's name carried weight. But the whispers followed. Online threads grew. Anonymous posts questioned her. Was it staged? Did she know who Daniel was? Protocols matter. Sarah read one late at night. Her chest ached. She wanted to scream. She didn't know. She just acted. But no one would believe her, not the ones who envied her. She closed her laptop, stood by her window. Bethesda's campus was quiet. Moonlight lit the grounds. She thought of her father. He faced doubters too, kept going. She would too. She, threw herself into her work, trained harder, planned better. Her team grew stronger. One day a letter arrived from a nursing student in Chicago, a girl named Aisha. She wrote about Sarah's story, how it inspired her. She was poor, first generation. Nursing was her dream. Sarah's heart swelled. She wrote back, "Keep going. You're enough." She didn't stop there. She contacted her lawyer, set up a scholarship fund. Quiet, untraceable, for students like Aisha. Low income, big dreams, no press, no fanfare, just purpose. She reviewed applications at night, read essays about struggle, hope, fear. Each one felt like her own story. She chose 5 students, sent letters. "You are seen, don't stop." The act healed something in her. The whispers faded, not because they stopped, because she stopped listening. Her team noticed the change. Sarah stood taller, spoke clearer, laughed more. One afternoon, Lila approached her, held out a small card. "Homemade. Thank you for believing in me." Sarah's eyes stung. She hugged Lila, kept the card on her desk, beside the dog tag, beside her father's patch. Her purpose grew clearer. She wasn't just a nurse. She was a leader, a builder. She was shaping the future, one nurse at a time. The hospital became her home, not like Chicago. Different, stronger. She walked the halls with ease, greeted staff by name, checked on patients. Her hands were steady, her heart full. But sometimes she paused, thought of Chicago, the ER's chaos, the friends she lost, the life she left behind. It ached. Not as much as before, but enough to remind her. She had paid a price. She had gained more. One evening she drove to a park near the hospital, sat on a bench, watched the sunset. The sky burned orange. She pulled out the dog tag, held it to the light. Corporal Daniel Carter. She smiled. She had saved him, not for fame, not for reward, because it was right. Now she was here, leading, teaching, healing. The whispers didn't matter. The praise didn't either. What mattered was the work. The lives she touched, the nurses she lifted. Her phone buzzed. A message from Senator Harper's office. A ceremony was planned to launch her training program, to honor her impact. Sarah's heart skipped. She hadn't expected this. Not more attention, but she agreed, not for herself, for her team, for Lila, for Aisha, for every nurse who felt unseen. She slipped the dog tag back into her pocket, stood up. The sunset faded. Stars began to show. Sarah felt ready, not just for the ceremony, for whatever came next. She was no longer the nurse who doubted. She was the nurse who rose. Sarah Mitchell stood on the sunlit lawn of Bethesda Naval Hospital. The June breeze carried the scent of fresh grass. White chairs lined the grass in neat rows. Navy and Marine flags fluttered proudly. A stage stood at the center. Red, white, and blue bunting framed it. Sarah's navy dress hugged her frame. Simple, but elegant. Her hair fell in soft waves. Her hands held a clipboard. Names of new recruits filled it. Young nurses and medics chosen for her mentorship program. She designed it to shape them, to teach them courage under fire, to trust their hearts when chaos struck. Today was its launch, a ceremony to celebrate. Sarah's chest swelled with pride, not for herself, for them. The recruits sat in the front, row, their uniforms crisp, their eyes bright. Some clutched notebooks, others hid nervous hands. Sarah saw herself in them. The fear, the hope, the drive to make a difference. She glanced at her speech cards. Words she wrote late at night. Words about purpose, about acting when others hesitate. The crowd grew. Hospital staff, military officers, Senator James Harper and his sister Margaret. Cameras clicked. Local reporters gathered. The event was small, but significant. A promise to the future of healthcare. Sarah's program would train hundreds, maybe thousands. It was her legacy. Born from that night in Chicago, from blood and defiance, from saving Daniel Carter. A murmur spread through the crowd. Heads turned. Sarah followed their gaze. A figure, Approached, tall, steady, in marine dress blues, Corporal Daniel Carter. His buttons gleamed. His steps were sure. No trace of the limp from months ago. His face was strong, alive. Sarah's breath caught. She hadn't known he'd come. He climbed the stage. The crowd stood. Applause roared. Daniel raised a hand. The noise settled. He turned to Sarah. His blue eyes locked on hers. "I'm here because of you." His voice carried across the lawn. Clear, strong. The crowd hushed. He faced them. "I was supposed to die that night. My team did. I should have been with them. But one person refused to let go." He looked at Sarah again. "You fought for me, when no one else did." Sarah's throat tightened. Her hands gripped the clipboard. Daniel continued, "I'm alive because of your courage, your heart. This program, it's not just training, it's her spirit, her refusal to give up." He reached into his pocket, pulled out a small box. Inside was a stethoscope, engraved with her name. Sarah Mitchell. He stepped closer, held it out. "This is from me, my family, for what you gave us." Sarah took it. Her fingers trembled. The metal was cool. The engraving caught the light. She couldn't speak. The crowd clapped. Cameras flashed. Tears pricked her eyes. She blinked them back. Daniel stepped aside. "Senator," Harper took the podium. His voice boomed. "Today we honor not just a nurse, but a leader. Sarah Mitchell's program will shape the future. Save lives. Build heroes." The applause swelled again. Sarah stepped forward. Her turn to speak. She set the stethoscope down, took a breath, looked at the recruits. "You'll face moments that test you. Moments where fear is loud, where rules are heavy. But if you listen to your purpose, you'll find your way." Her voice was steady, warm. She spoke of that night in Chicago, not for glory, but to show them. Instinct matters. Courage matters. They listened, riveted. Lila, the young nurse from her team, sat in the front. Her eyes shone. Sarah smiled at her. The speech ended. The crowd stood, clapped. Sarah stepped back, her heart full. The ceremony moved to a luncheon. Laughter replaced speeches. Recruits mingled. Daniel approached her. His smile was soft. "You're doing something big here." Sarah nodded. "It's for them. For nurses who feel unseen." He nodded. "You see them, like you saw me." They parted with a handshake. His grip was strong. Sarah felt the moment settle in her, a connection unbroken. Later she walked to her office. The hospital was quiet. Sunlight spilled through the windows. Her badge glinted. Head trauma nurse, she passed the trauma bay, upgraded with her input. New monitors, better gear, her team's work. She reached her office. The door was open. Her desk held her father's paramedic patch, the dog tag, Corporal Daniel Carter, and now the stethoscope. She sat. Her fingers brushed the engraving. "Sarah Mitchell." She smiled. The ache of Chicago was gone. The whispers of envy faded. She had built something real, something lasting. The scholarship fund she started was growing. 5 students funded. More to come. Aisha's letter sat framed on her wall. "You are seen." Sarah lived those words now. She led with them. Her phone buzzed. A text from Lila. "Thank you for today, for everything." Sarah's heart warmed. She typed back. "Keep going. You're enough." She stood, walked to the window. The campus stretched below. Nurses moved between. Buildings, patients healed. Her program was alive, changing lives. She thought of that night. The blood, the flatline, the choice. It led her here, to this office, this purpose. She wasn't the nurse who doubted anymore. She was the nurse who led, who lifted others. The dog tag caught her eye. She picked it up, held it to the light. Daniel had insisted she keep it. A reminder, he said, of how far they'd come. Sarah set it down. Her fingers lingered. She didn't need it to remember. It was part of her now, like her father's lessons, like the lives she saved, the nurses she trained. The sun dipped low. The sky turned gold. Sarah took a breath, deep, true. She was home, not just in Bethesda, in herself, her work, her purpose. The ceremony was over, the cameras gone, but her impact would grow, quietly, steadily, like her. She stepped out of her office. The hall was empty. Her footsteps echoed. She passed portraits of military leaders. Their eyes followed her, not with judgment, with respect. She reached the trauma bay, peeked inside. A nurse prepped equipment. Another checked a chart. They nodded at her, smiled. Sarah nodded back. Her team, her people. She walked on, ready for her next shift, ready for whatever came. She had come full circle, from a firing to a future, from doubt to strength, from one life saved to many shaped. This was her legacy, not headlines, not praise, but the quiet power of doing what was right.